Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. Taking another Spinnaker watch for you, and this is their Tsai. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I've watched a few other YouTubers. Everybody says it differently. So I believe the name from this comes from, I guess, a World War II naval ship or device. It was the first manned torpedo, is my understanding. I didn't dig too much into the research of that. I basically just want to get to the video and show you guys the watches. By all means, I'll put links in the description like I always do. You can read more about it directly off the website. I'll give you guys a little snippet of what that website says, and take advantage of my coupon code if you're going to order one of these. Now, as of today, unfortunately, this watch is sold out. And it seems like every time I get a watch from Spinnaker, they sell out really quick. This is a really popular brand. They are owned by the Dartmouth company. So if you're familiar with Dartmouth, that has brands under like RGMT, AVI8, Spinnaker, of course, Nubeo, brands like that, Earnshaw, Cadola. They have a lot of different brands on their belt. I reviewed a lot of these different brands, and I'll tell you the quality across the board is all very impressive. Now, I say that, and I don't want you to, I don't want folks to watch these videos. Remember, most of these videos are going to be the same. So a lot of times people will say, oh, well, you give every watch a good review. There are differences in quality, and this is kind of my point when it comes to watches. It's very rare that you find huge differences in quality. When you start reviewing a watch that has, like I talk about, that level of quality, it's right here. When you start jumping into luxury brands, the difference doesn't change all that much. Minor differences. Again, if you're the kind of person who makes a mountain out of a molehill, and let's face it, that's really what luxury brands bank on. They bank on this watch community making mountains out of molehills when really there's not a lot of difference. You look at a watch like this, compare it to a $20,000 Rolex. Is there going to be some differences? Absolutely, but they're not the differences these folks make them out to be. It's just like I always say, if you can honestly, and you'll look at the watch community, as I always say on YouTube, guys who I can't stand, a lot of them reviewing watches, they will give the Spinnaker a fair shake and then crap on other brands. That's complete dishonesty. And the reason they do that is because a lot of times they have websites that are selling these watches in these specific brands. Remember, whenever you come to my page and you watch me do a review, I'm going to give you an honest review. I'm going to give every watch a fair handshake. If I see something I don't like, I'm going to mention it. But remember, if you are super critical and you are like really, if you make a big deal about everything, right? And if you make mountains out of molehills, I'm probably not the guy for you to watch, because I am very, what I expect out of a watch, I talk about my check boxes, and they're everybody's going to have a different list, and we're going to talk about those things as I always do. But for me, my check boxes are pretty simple, right? And realistically, with all the watches I own, all the companies I've worked with, all the watches I've bought, whether it be from DHK, eBay, AliExpress, the mall, there is very little difference in quality once you get good quality. And good quality can be at $100, it can be at $60, and when you start looking at $60 watches all the way up to $20,000, $100,000 watches, anybody who says there's insane differences is just a fucking liar. I mean, plain and simple. If they do see these huge differences, it's really because they'll see differences with everything in life, most likely. It's like if they're, it's the same people who will have a Folgers cup of coffee and say it's absolutely horrible, and then have like some, really great brand on, some niche brand to say it's so much better. Taste is subjective, and what people like is subjective. So again, I'm very loose when it comes to what I expect out of a watch, and I just know, again, with all the brands I have, and they're not just $100 watches. They range in price from $20 all the way up into $5,000. There's not a lot of difference. So let's talk about the Tsai. All right, so this is the tactical blue version, and this is one of Spinnaker's titanium versions. Now, I will state, some folks really like titanium watches. I don't know, with me, I prefer having the weight of a watch, which is, why I kind of like the Invicta brand, right? When you guys have seen my videos. But remember, it doesn't really matter if a watch is lightweight or heavy. I'll wear it and I'll enjoy it. If the quality's there, then it's something I want in my collection. So let's take a look at this. This one here is the tactical blue. It's kind of like I'd say kind of a pale royal blue. It's very subtle. It's not like what you're going to find on like a Submariner where they have like that bright royal blue. This is very subdued, very simple. It does have a little bit of a kind of a gradation that goes from like a darker, real dark blue up until the center of the watch, which has more of that lighter kind of matte navy blue. There is a texture to this dial. It's almost like I'd call it almost like an orange peel kind of dial. I'll throw some pictures up here, of course, so you can see that more in detail. And again, this watch is made of titanium. Now, titanium is quite incredible. It's extremely strong, and it's really weird because when you feel titanium, it's just, I'm incorrect in feeling this way, but when you feel titanium compared to like stainless steel, like I got an Oceaniva here, it's like, you know, I think for me anyway, I always associate weight with quality. And I think that that's something that we associate, I think most people associate something that feels heavy duty. That's why we have the word, you know, that saying, it's heavy duty. It's when it is heavy, it's meant to, we associate that with being tough and being stronger and of better quality. That's not really the case with titanium. Titanium is lighter weight. I believe it is stronger than 316 stainless steel. And it is more corrosion resistant. At the end of the day, you know, I mean, nobody's gonna, you're not really, unless you are a diver and you spend a lot of time on the ocean, or if you have a trade where you're, you know, on the water all the time, subjecting your watch to a lot of salty sea air, it's not really gonna be an issue. And even 316, you know, no matter what a watch is made out of, salt is very corrosive. If it's stainless steel or titanium, you should always rinse your watches off with fresh water if you're around salt water. But nonetheless, it is very lightweight, and I think for some folks that is going to be kind of a comfort aspect. You know, when you feel it on the wrist, it feels like you're wearing almost nothing at all. It is quite incredible. Now, I honestly prefer the weight of a heavier watch. I just prefer to feel the watch on my wrist. You have a lot of guys on YouTube who are like, oh, it's so uncomfortable if a watch is too heavy or too big. I just, you know, hey, to each their own, but I'm just not really picky when it comes to stuff like that. Stuff like that doesn't bother me at all. So for me, it is just kind of a novelty for me to have a titanium watch in my collection. I did have a titanium watch years ago, and it was an Invicta. I ended up selling it. I just didn't really wear it all that much. And I would get another titanium watch again, but I think if I had to choose between titanium and stainless, I think I'll always gravitate more towards stainless steel. Titanium has a different look. It's a very subtle look. I think it's more of like this is a brushed finish, of course, but it has more of a I think more of like a graphite looking color. I mean, it's similar to stainless steel, but for you guys who know your watches, I mean, you guys have seen this before. Remember, not everybody has the same skill set and same experience with watches. On camera, they look very similar, and they kind of are. This is a better example. Here's like a brushed finish Spinnaker. Very similar, but titanium just has a certain look to it. And like I said, when you hold this in your hand, it's extremely lightweight. It just, to me, it almost makes the watch feel cheap, to be honest with you. But I know that's not the case. It's just the nature of titanium. So here's what it says here. They refer to this as a tool watch, and the true sense of the word, the Tesai, titanium is a must-have piece of equipment for all missions, tactical or otherwise. This is kind of a sales pitch. I'm not going to read all that. Lightweight and easy to wear. So again, level of strength is excellent on titanium. I'm not going to give you guys the whole specs on what's tougher and not. I just don't. Watches aren't really subjected to, I think insane abuse. If you are breaking your watch, I don't know what to tell you, so I get a G-Shock or something. So you probably break that too. But, it is strong, it is lightweight, it is durable, but, on paper, again, more durable, more stronger than stainless, but it's never gonna. It's not something that I need or something that I'm ever gonna really benefit from. Now, specifications on this. This does have the Seiko NH35 movement. Again, a time-tested, very reliable movement. But like I always have to mention, if a watch has a seagull or it has a Miyota, all these movements are good, right? I mean, it's really personal preference. They all tell time great. I don't see much of a difference, to be honest with you. I have all these different movements, and they all tell time. 43mm case diameter. I saw a YouTuber I really like actually reviewing one of these watches, saying it's a big watch. 43. Remember, that is subjective. 43, I don't think is a big watch at all. I think that's a normal size watch. Unidirectional rotating bezel. Excellent grip on this one here. I joke about this stuff a lot in the videos, but I know different people have different things, different check boxes, so to speak, and things that are more important to them than others. But the bezel on this is very solid. Honestly, a tiny bit of surprisingly a tiny bit of play in this. I'll tell you, I've had other Spinnakers that cost, you know, half the price of this, and they didn't have that. And let me just get to the negative, because I very rarely give a negative review or mention anything negative, because a lot of times I don't find anything. I was a little bit disappointed with the sizing of this watch. To bang out these friction pins, you know, this is probably due to the nature of the titanium. I'm not sure how these are assembled and how the machines put this together, but I really get to wail on it. And normally what I do, and I know this isn't the proper way, again, size your watches how you want to fucking size them, but for me, I always kind of take the watch, put it on my leg, follow the direction of the arrows, and I use just a little jeweler's hammer and just a, I don't know what the actual term of it is. You would think after owning so many watches and reviewing after all these years, I'm just going to call it like a push pin remover. And I just basically tap on it. Anything stainless steel just comes out like, you know, not like butter, but it takes a little tapping and it comes out, you grab it with a plier. With this, I had to wail on it. And the only way I could actually size this, and this is for any of you guys who are going to get something like this and size it, I had to put it on the edge of a book and bang the pins into the book. Because putting this on my leg, I started to distort or separate the three links actually in this, and they're not supposed to come apart. They're supposed to stay together. Now I did bang it back together. It's totally fine. There's no issues there. But just something to keep in mind, if you are going to size this the way that I'm doing it, you're going to put it on like a book and put it on there so it's flat. And then when you bang those pins out, this thing won't be moving at all, and I think that was preventing the pins from coming out. But I'll tell you, I sized 300 plus watches, and the only time I've ever had issues like this is with Invicta with some of their plating. For instance, the iridescent, I'm sure that's going to happen with other brands as well. Whatever they do, maybe that coating's applied at you know, at a different stage, and maybe they assemble the bracelet first. I just don't know, but just keep in mind, I've experienced that with the Invictas, and I definitely experienced it with this. It was surprising how hard I had to wail on this to get the pins out. Good news is putting it on the book, using that technique, I was able to get them out, size the watch, no issues. But just kind of keep that in mind. Some of you guys might be really like, that's not the way to do it, Fat Cat. You need to have a push pin remover, and where. Whatever, dude, I have a push pin remover, and basically those are the little things. I have one here somewhere. Yeah, this is broken for a reason, because they stink. You basically put the watch in the push pin remover, and this has a threaded rod, and basically a very similar tool to what I'm using just with a hammer. This will thread inside the housing here and push the pin out. That works on many watches, but I've destroyed more of those things than, that's why I stopped using them. The threads strip, and you bend the actual push, not the push pin that's holding the band together or the brace together, but the push rod, right? And, you know, they just don't work very well. So if I use something like that on this, there's no way it would have came out. These were in there really tight. So something for Spinnaker to look at, maybe I just got one that was a little off, but anybody getting a watch who has sized their own watches before would feel the same way about this and be like, wow, that was a lot more difficult to size than any of my other watches. You do have a sapphire lens, and getting back to the check boxes, you do have a sapphire lens anti-reflective coating. That is a checkbox for many folks out there. For me, I honestly don't give a shit. Remember, when people talk about crystals, they're like, oh, you have to have sapphire. Sapphire is the most scratch resistant, but in my opinion, it's the most shatter prone. Anything harder tends to shatter easier. Now again, I may be a little off on that, but here's the most important thing, is that watch snobs want you to believe that if you have sapphire, you have this insanely scratch resistant, like amazing crystal that's just like, it's superior to everything else. And when you go looking at K1, Flame Fusion, Cristerna, all the other crystals out there, they try to make it sound like all those other crystals are really inferior, like they're scratch really easy, and that's why sapphire is superior. All these crystals are very difficult to scratch. Like you know, it doesn't matter what unless you have like a plexiglass lens at a really cheap watch, or you know, like a 99-cent DH-Gate special, something made of plastic or an acrylic. Of course, those are going to be super shatter resistant, but scratch easy, right? Most watches you buy are not, even plain old glass, you're not going to scratch it very easily, you know. it's just they try to make, again, a mountain out of a molehill. It's just not the case. But it does have the sapphire crystal for you folks that you know, who are very concerned with that. Dual push button deploying clasp, safety lock, again milled clasp, all titanium, 200 meters of water resistance, 2-year international warranty. And we talked about that unidirectional rotating bezel. I actually like, you know, I honestly don't give a shit, but when I turn a bezel, you know, I turn the bezel on every watch I own, and this one does have a nice, solid ratcheting mechanism, but I am a little surprised just with that amount of back play. And it's not bad, it's a little tiny bit, right? I'll tell you right now, I love the Spinnaker brand, don't get me wrong, but I have to throw it out there, my Invicta doesn't do that, so an Invicta is a fraction of the price. Now, fortunately, a lot of the Spinnaker watches that I have, like this one here, this is one of the holes, doesn't do that either. Doesn't do that at all. So I think it's just, you know, you're going to get little differences in all watches. Doesn't make the watch bad or anything, but some folks who make a big deal about things might have a problem with that, right? What else? 13 millimeters in case thickness. You know, I think this is a very wearable, very lightweight, comfortable watch. But then again, this is coming from a guy wearing a 70 millimeter Sea Hunter and says it's comfortable too. So take that with a grain of salt. Other than that, that's about the only specifications I have on this watch. Kind of reminds me a little bit of one of my, very similar actually to one of my Duxos. Now let's talk about price on this. So these are sold out, which is pretty incredible. But you know, Spinnaker watches are awesome. I mean, they really are. They make a great product. They get people coming back for more. This was selling recently for $690. Now, like all the Dartmouth brands, these go on sale. I don't know what the cheapest price this was listed for or what this went on sale for. Do take advantage of my coupon code no matter what you buy, no matter what's on sale. But this entire model is sold out from when they made it in bronze. One of these is gorgeous. Check it out. I'll put the link in the description as always. They have one that's the muted gold, it's called. It's a bronze version of this on brown leather with this kind of textured gold face. It's stunning. It's a great looking watch. Those were $850. So these ones, again, $690. Good luck getting one. Maybe they'll come back in stock. Maybe they won't. I just want to look at, they do have a section on here where you can specifically look for titanium, and it didn't pull anything up, which is really kind of strange. Let me just see, because sometimes they have, Spinnaker does reuse names sometimes, where actually, in my opinion, this is like totally different than the bronze, but they still borrowed the name, I guess, from the bronze version. When I look at the other watches they have here, I'm not seeing anything else that is made of titanium, again on a first glance here, on their site here that might be a different option for you. They do have the indigo blue. This is the Spence. It is very similar. This one is not titanium, but still a great looking piece, and you're going to get a Miyota movement on that. So I'm really glad that Spinnaker is putting the movements on their website with Nubeo. They don't do that, so it is the same company. But like I said, I have a list, so if you guys find a Nubeo watch that you really like and need to know that movement, let me know. So I didn't show you the box, but I'll throw a picture up here now. Bam, there it is. You know, classic Spinnaker dive case, very cool. Some of them come in cardboard, some of them come in the dive case. I'm never really too concerned with the box, only the watch. Cool watch overall. To me, it's another one of your Submariner style watches. You know, and it's not really meant, I don't think they were going for that, but let's face it, anytime you have a round, basic, simple design watch with a 3-link bracelet, you know, it's going to kind of be referred to as a Submariner homage, because round watches kind of look the same. But it's a cool watch, it's a cool piece, and you know, again, really happy to have it in my collection. There are times where you just want, I think, trying to think of when I would, but I mean, joking aside, there are times where you just want a very lightweight, comfortable watch on, and this is one that, you know, I can, you know, this is one maybe I'll leave on when I'm working under the car. Maybe I'll beat the hell out of it, you know. So we'll see how it holds up, but very cool, like it. Let's throw it on the wrist. So I'm about 5'8", or not about. Let me make it clear. I'm 5'8". That's basketball player height. So anyway, 5'8". I weigh about 175 pounds as of today. Kind of in my bulking season here, kind of trying to put it on. I fluctuate you know, summertime, I try to get down to around 165. Wintertime, maybe I'll peak around 180-ish. We'll see. I've been eating a lot, but it doesn't seem to be happening. I'm very active. What else? 7-inch wrist. So this is what, again, a 43mm watch looks like on a guy of my size, my height, my weight. And I give you that information. Everybody's body's different, but it gives you kind of an idea of how the watch may look like on you if you buy one. So check it. It wouldn't look this good, though. I mean, let's be real here. But great looking piece. And, you know, remember, pricing and value is always going to be subjective. Some of you might say, hey, you know, I can get a watch by, you know, this brand or even by Spinnaker for, you know, half the price. There's lots of great brands out there. Remember, this watch here for $690 is no nicer than this watch here for, I don't know what this is going for now, but I believe it's less. It's just a different style. If you start comparing this to like a $59 or $60 DHgate, I've reviewed a few, you know, DHgate sends watches out, and they're those homage Rolex watches. You know, is there a difference between those two? There is. This is a nicer quality watch, the milled clasp. It's just a little more attention to detail went into it, but it's not an insane difference. Other than having a reputable, you know, movement, having that sapphire crystal. Remember, a lot of times those check boxes are good-looking watch, though, right? Not bad. Lume, sorry guys, Lume is not mentioned, so Spinnaker mentioned a little. Again, getting back to these check boxes, right? Remember, I think in my heart, I don't believe it really makes a hell of a lot of difference. But for people who are, you know, maybe it's easier for me to say because I got 300 watches, right? I got options, you know. So, but somebody maybe just buying 1 or 2 watches may just really want to get it all, and I totally understand that. I totally respect that. But you know, at the end of the day, all these things do is tell time. And when you have those, I think these other check boxes or these other specifications, it's an excuse to drive the price up. You know, if you're getting a watch that's titanium, a reason to buy that might be because maybe you are sensitive and you want something very lightweight on the wrist. That's a valid reason, right? But to say, oh, well, I got titanium because it's more, you know, it's stronger, it's more corrosion resistant. Well, what are you doing? Like, you know, in sales we always talk about feature action benefit. You know, there's no point in slamming a customer with a bunch of features that are not meaningful to them, right? Again, if somebody comes in, let's say somebody were to, I want titanium. Well, what is your reasoning for having titanium? You know, lightweight, great, you're gonna feel that, right? But the strength, you know, you're not gonna break a 316 stainless steel watch. If you break the titanium watch or the 316, you probably would have damaged either of them. You know, sapphire, you know, scratch resistant. All right, great, but you know, are you really going to take advantage of that? So these different, you know, the movement. Oh, I really wanted the Amelia. I really wanted the Valjoux, or I really wanted the Salida. Well, they all tell time. They all tell time well. So maybe you want a sweeping secondhand, just a feature. It's like heated seats in a car. Like, do you really need them? But you want them. That kind of thing. So I want you guys, when you watch videos and you watch all these knuckleheads on YouTube reviewing watches, it's just understand that there is not insane differences across brands. There are differences. There are different options, I like to call them, in watches, because they're not really benefits a lot of time. They're more options, like in your car. You know what I mean? Oh, I got the double-stitched leather or whatever. I got the Italian leather. You know, the other leather was nice too. You know what I mean? So it really comes down to the person, and what we all value is subjective. And ultimately, like I always state, enjoy collecting watches if you are collecting. If you're looking to, you know, just get a few I feel like if you buy a few watches or 2 watches, you eventually will buy a third. I think this is kind of an addicting hobby. And if I can help in any way, by all means, let me know. I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of different brands, and I know what you get for your money and I know what you don't get for your money. And but ultimately, at the end of the day, have fun. Wear them in enjoyment, wear them with confidence, and you know, be nice to everybody who's into the same things that you are. You know, watches are cool; they're a lot of fun to collect, and you know, but at the end of the day, biggest point I always make is buy what calls to you, buy what makes you happy. Guys all the time are like, oh, which leather jacket is the best one? Well, they're all nice. Which one would you get? Well, what about you? What do you like? And that's most important. If you see a watch and it calls to you, whether that's a Rolex or that's a Omega or that's a Boulevard or that's a Citizen, then that's the watch you should get. So thanks for watching. Have a great day and take care.